The most successful NBA players under 6 feet tall. The NBA is home to some of the tallest athletes in all of professional sports. There are multiple players in the league who are well over 7 feet tall, and the tallest players in league history were listed at 7 feet and 7 inches tall. In the 2019-2020 season, the average height of a player in the NBA is 6 feet and 6 inches. With the league making its move towards being more and more positionless, and the guards getting taller and big men getting slightly smaller, there is not much room for short players in the league. Along with this, back during the earlier years in the league, because of the rough and rugged style of play from big men and forwards alike, a shorter and lighter player could be tossed around like a rag doll. However, despite all the odds going against them, throughout the course of league history, there have been some players that have broken through, while still being quite short for being in the NBA. These players span through most eras of the league, showing that in any area of the game, it is possible for anyone to make it to the league with enough hard work and dedication to the craft. Isaiah Thomas. The first player that we will be covering is one of the smallest players to have major success in the NBA. He went from being Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick of the 2011 NBA draft, to a player that was a real MVP candidate. That player is the king in the fourth, standing at 5 feet and 9 inches, Isaiah Thomas. Thomas was one of the more talented players in this draft class as he went on to show, and was a much better player than many of the players drafted in front of him in the 2011 draft. However, because of his height and the skepticism that it caused, he would go on to be the last pick of his draft class. In an interview about the situation, Thomas was quoted as saying, "All I wanted was a chance. That's all I needed. I will take care of the rest because I prepared myself for the moment, no matter if it was training camp or if it was being the water boy. If I was going to be water boy, I was going to be the best water boy there was." Thomas signed a 3-year rookie minimum deal with the Sacramento Kings when he first came into the league. However, they would trade him after just 3 seasons with the team, in a deal that sent him to the Phoenix Suns in return for Alex Oriaki. In hindsight, this deal is now very laughable. Thomas would only last a single season with the Suns, that had quite a logjam at the point guard position during this time. While Thomas was on the roster, he was fighting for minutes with much more established players at the time, like Goran Dragic and Eric Bledsoe. After his year with the Suns, Thomas was once again traded to the Boston Celtics, where he would become one of the best players in the league for a short stretch. He took the league by storm with his incredible scoring ability and clear clutch gene, which earned him the previously stated nickname the King in the Fourth. During his time with Boston, Thomas would finish 5th in the NBA MVP race, after averaging almost 29 points per game at a very efficient rate. During the playoffs of his MVP caliber season, he would suffer a hip injury that would derail his career. In the offseason after his injury, Boston turned their back on their leader, who played in a playoff game for the team shortly after being told the news about the tragic death of his sister. He would be traded to Cleveland, along with Jay Crowder, and the pick that would become Colin Sexton in return for Kyrie Irving. Thomas suffered due to bad coaching, and being put in a system that clearly did not suit him. He would be traded from the Cavs to the Los Angeles Lakers. This is where his career would really begin to fall off, and after a season with the Denver Nuggets and a 1-year stop with the Washington Wizards, Thomas is currently unsigned, and could possibly even be forced into retirement, just a few years after being a real MVP candidate. Mugsy Boggs. The next player on the list is Mugsy Boggs. Boggs is the shortest player in NBA history, being listed at only 5 feet and 3 inches. He was the 12th overall pick in the 1987 draft coming out of Wake Forest. During his career, Boggs would go on to be a very serviceable guard in the league, and one of the best players in Charlotte Hornets history. Here is a notorious story about Boggs facing off against Michael Jordan in the playoffs, which was said to have effectively ended Boggs' entire career. According to Bulls assistant coach Johnny Bach, he heard Jordan tell Boggs while defending him, "On the biggest possession of the game, Muggsy had the ball with the Hornets down 1. Jordan backed off of him and told him, 'Shoot it, you midget.' Muggsy shot it and didn't come close." A year later, Muggsy actually told Johnny Bach that he believes that single play ruined his career. His shot never recovered. After this playoff series, Boggs would never go on to average double digits in points again in his career. He still is the all-time leader for the Hornets in minutes played, assists, and steals. Spud Webb. Next on the list is Spud Webb. Webb fought doubts his entire career due to his height. He stood at 5 feet and 7 inches with shoes on. Even in high school, Spud had to fight his way onto the team. An ESPN article said it had taken him a heck of a lot longer to convince the coaches at Wilmer Hutchins High School, just south of Dallas, to give him a shot. Webb, considered too small by the coaches, played primarily for the junior varsity team until his senior year of high school. All he did that season was average 26 points per game, while leading Wilmer Hutchins to the playoffs and earning All-State honors. Even after accomplishing so much in high school and playing at such an elite level, he would receive 0 scholarship offers and was forced to play at a junior college before eventually transferring to North Carolina State. Webb was slept on even after a successful career in college as well. He slipped into the 4th round in the NBA draft and was the 87th overall pick. Webb would go on to be a slam dunk champion, as well as a solid starter in the league. He would average 9.9 points, 5.3 assists, 2.1 rebounds, and 1.1 steals over his career. Nate Robinson. Nate Robinson is one of the more interesting stories in NBA history, as well as one of the most loved players in the league. Going back to his college career, he was a 2-sport athlete and made it to the University of Washington on a football scholarship. Going into his sophomore year, he decided that he would rather focus on basketball, and that would end up being a decision that made him millions of dollars over his lengthy career in the league. He was drafted 21st overall in the NBA draft by the Phoenix Suns, but was later traded to the New York Knicks in a draft day trade. During his career in the league, he would win the dunk contest 3 times. Along with this, he was a player who was never afraid to fight. He was a part of the brawl between the New York Knicks and the Denver Nuggets. The fight started as fans were beginning to leave the game and the garbage time subs were making their way to the scorer's table. The Knicks took offense to the fact that the Nuggets still had their starters in, with the game well out of reach. Despite this tactic possibly leading to injury, it breaks an unwritten rule of the game and is generally seen as being very unsportsmanlike. The Knicks turned the ball over, and Marty Collins flagrantly fouled Nuggets player J.R. Smith in a malicious way that was more than likely predetermined. Nate Robinson was the first to the scene of the fight, as he said in a post-game interview that he knew a hard foul was coming. He was quoted as saying, "For what they did as in keeping guys in, I knew a foul was going to come. A hard one, because we're not going to let guys keep dunking when they're up 20 and they have their starters in." Smith took offense to the foul and retaliated, which caused Collins to respond to Smith, which is where the brawl began to take off. The league came down hard on both teams, with this only being 2 seasons after the malice at the Palace. Both teams were fined $500,000. J.R. Smith and Nate Robinson were both suspended for 10 games. Marty Collins was suspended for 6 games. Jared Jeffries was suspended for 4 games, and Carmelo Anthony suspended for 15 games for a sucker punch that he threw. Robinson was one of the best blockers at his size in the history of the game as well. In his career, he blocked LeBron James, as well as Yao Ming, who was listed at 7 feet and 6 inches. Robinson established himself as a very good bench player during his career, and was someone who could provide a spark and scoring option off of the bench. Calvin Murphy. The final player on the list, and arguably the most accomplished player under 6 feet tall in NBA history, is Calvin Murphy. According to his Legends profile on NBA.com, only those who saw Murphy play knew how big this 5'9" dynamo was on a basketball court. Murphy played pressure basketball at both ends of the court. He was a premier player on offense, who could also stop on a dime and stick a jump shot with a flick of the wrist, and his defense was aggressive, a belly-to-belly style, and made him a top-notch defensive player. He never allowed his diminutive size to become a handicap. He was, said former Rockets teammate Major Jones, like a bantamweight who dared to make his living in the heavyweight division. Murphy had a very successful 13-year career in the league. Although he was the shortest player in the league at the time of being a rookie, he was still selected to be on the all-rookie team, with averages of 15.8 points, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds a game. Murphy played during the early era of the NBA. He was drafted to the San Diego Rockets and played his rookie year in the 1970-1971 season. The three-point line would not be established into the game until his 9th season in the league. Along with this, blocks and steals were not recorded until his 4th year in the NBA. Murphy was a key part of the Rockets almost winning a title very early on in his career. During Murphy's career, the Rockets were inconsistent, but in his free throw record-setting season, the Rockets had their most successful season to date, with Moses Malone as the anchor. After sneaking into the playoffs with a record of 40-42, they staged a series of playoff upsets against the Lakers, the Spurs, and the Kansas City Kings to reach the 1981 NBA Finals. In Game 5 of a hard-fought series against San Antonio, Murphy came off the bench to score 36 points. Prior to Game 7 against the Spurs, Malone had a stomach ailment, and Coach Del Harris leaned on Murphy to pick up the slack. Behind a night of roadblock screens, Murphy poured in 42 points, helping to a 105-100 victory and a berth in the conference finals. After dumping another unsung squad, the Kings, in the Western Conference Finals, the Rockets met the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals. The Celtics were a young team, with Kevin McHale in his rookie season, Larry Bird in his 2nd year, and Robert Parrish in his 5th campaign. Still, Boston proved too tough for the Rockets, winning the series in 6 games. Murphy would retire averaging 17.9 points per game, 4.4 assists, 2 rebounds, and 1.5 steals. He was also a one-time All-Star. These accomplishments were enough to get him inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame. Final thoughts. In conclusion, while there are not too many players in NBA history who have made it big while being small, there are a few players who are under 6 feet tall and had great careers in the league. There are MVP caliber players like Isaiah Thomas, good starters or bench players like Muggsy Boggs, Spud Webb, and Nate Robinson, or even Hall of Famers like Calvin Murphy. Thank you for watching another UpNext Sports video. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment with some players under 6 feet tall that we missed, and be sure to join us in the next video for more basketball content similar to this one.